Okay, we may start, Divya.
Hello everyone, welcome to the second session of this Mental Health Awareness Week organized by HR Speaks. Mental health affects how we think, feel and act in our daily lives. Our ability to handle emotions, stress, how we socialize with others and making decisions are greatly influenced by our mental state. It is high time we realize that our mental health is as important as our physical health. A very large body of evidence that now exists suggests that diet is as important to mental health as it is to physical health. On this note, I, Ms.Dhvani, President of HR Speaks, would like to welcome our guest for today, the nutritionist Dhvani, our teacher in charge, Professor Shweta Singh, the faculty members, and our dear students to the session, Food for the Mood. I would also like to take the opportunity to introduce to our freshers what HR Speaks is all about through a short video. Karina?
Okay, I think there was some disturbance in the video. Anyways.
Kindly note that you can post your questions in the chat box throughout the meeting, but they shall be answered in the Q&A round in the end. Now I'd like a professor in charge, Mrs. Shweta Singh, to give a welcome note.
Thanks, Divya. Good evening, everyone. Following our enriching session on expressive art therapy yesterday, we are here with a second session for the Mental Health Week, focusing on the relation between food and mental health, stress eating, and little insight to eating disorders that people generally overlook. I believe what we eat is who we are. And so, eating a balanced diet is important for our mental and emotional well being also. On behalf of H.R.College, HSNC Board, HR Speaks, I, Professor Shweta Singh, would like to welcome our guest speaker, Ms.Dhvani Shah, faculty members, and dear students. Now, I would like to call upon Khushi to have an introduction for the guest of speaker today. Thank you.
One cannot think well, love well, sleep well if one has not dined well. Virginia Woolf. New research finds that our food choices may also affect our mood and mental health. This is called a food-mood connection. Let's get some healthy food for thought today, literally and figuratively. I would like to introduce our amazing guest for today's session, nutritionist, author, product developer, chef, and blogger, Ms.Dhvani Shah. Dhvani is a registered dietitian and postgraduate in clinical nutrition and diet therapy. She is now using her power of food and home remedies to boost growth, cure diseases, and to encourage individuals to lead a healthier life. Dhwani has conducted over 250 workshops, authored 7 books, developed more than 5,000 healthy recipes, and she is successfully running 2 clinics in Mumbai and an online clinic for patients in over 15 countries. I hope you all enjoy the second event of HR Speaks Mental Health Awareness Week. Healthy food for a healthy mind. Over to you, Ms. Dhwani.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction. Hi, everybody. A very good evening to the faculty, to the students, and to the HR Speaks committee. It's been a pleasure to be here today to speak to you. And HR has been really close to my heart because this is the third time that I'm speaking to the H.R.College, not HR Speaks committee through, but yes, I've visited twice before to the H.R.College campus about 4 years ago, and I'm so excited to be back again. So, well, talking about mental health awareness, we usually think that anybody who has a honestly, mental health is a lot more than just going crazy or behaving like a lunatic. And food has a huge impact on mental health. So what we are doing on a daily basis, there are small things that we do subconsciously which kind of build to a mental health disorder, or even a minor anxiety disorder that also lead to brain freezes and burnout. So let's get started. What these day-to-day problems are and how you can fix them without really going on a low calorie diet or really giving up on your favorite foods. So let's get started. If you have any questions, please feel free to post in the chat box, and I'll try answering it in the session or after it. So talking about food that affects the mood. Why nutrition is important to affect the mood. One, if tomorrow you are really happy, what would be the first thing you would do? And what would you do when you're the fridge for some chocolates, or again go out for an ice cream, or just binge eat on a bag of chips? So any emotion that we think of, the first association that comes with an emotion is food. And that's where this vicious cycle begins. We keep associating emotions with food, and we build on to a mental health disorder subtly with these mistakes. So usually what we believe is food is one of the very few sources of nourishment. Okay, so talking about nourishment, you need nutrition, you need some
Vani ma'am, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I
live,
think
you
there
need
is
to be
some
healthy, you need to think right, you need to
internet issue.
conduct your daily activities, and your body needs to be Divya, is this better?
Dhwani, if you don't mind, you want to switch off your video and speak, maybe that could be the reason for some time till the time your net gets stable.
Okay, sure, let me try.
Yeah, please try.
Okay, is this better?
Yes.
Better? All right. So I was saying that food is only one way that our body nourishes itself. So let's do a quick quiz here. Can anybody tell me what are the other sources of nourishment that our body gets except for food? So I'll give you a hint here. There are 5 ways in which you can nourish the body. Can you tell me what other ways? So one is food, second is water, what nourishes the body? Come on, I want everybody to answer. I'm waiting for answers. Just type in whatever you think is the right answer. Okay, so I'll give you another hint here. I think we have a few answers coming. Yes. So, sunlight, yes, excellent. Well, a few of them are saying rest, excellent, yes. Rest also nourishes the body. Sunlight nourishes the body, yes. Oxygen, yes, that's true. So oxygen, sunlight, fresh air, everything falls in the same category. That's environment. So we have food, we have environment, we have rest, because if you don't rest, you don't nourish. What else? Come on. There's one last very important factor that nourishes the body. In fact, this is the simplest answer because it's Mental Health Awareness Week. So, what do you think can the last answer be? So, we are getting answers close to it. Meditation, well, almost there. What can it be? Emotions. So, it is actually a thought. So, your thought also nourishes you, right? So, it can be a happy thought, it can be a spiritual thought, it can be just something constructive. It needn't be only happy, but anything that is constructive, anything that is positive also nourishes your well-being. So let me also give you a scenario here. Okay, now there are these expectations that you have from your meal time and from your food. Okay, so picture this, you're enjoying a delicious meal. Picture this, that you're really relishing your pizza or your coffee. And picture this, you're enjoying some quality time at the family dinner table. So this is actually the ideal scenario that builds a positive relationship of food to our emotions. But in reality, what happens is this. So we're either stress eating, or we're eating too fast, or we're just mindlessly eating. We're with each other, but we're not with each other. So in this session, I'm going to give you quick tips on how you can make your meal times more mindful, right? So the solution to all of this is what you eat and how you eat tells a lot about your personality. It tells your body's needs. It tells you how you need to heal yourself and how you need to prevent any mental health disorder. So again, let me give you an example here. What do you think is deficient in the body? Come on, time for another quiz. If you're craving for chocolate, what do you think is deficient in the body? So somebody said sugar, caffeine. Well, not exactly. You are close. Okay, so if you were deficient in sugar, wouldn't you rather crave for a candy, or wouldn't you just crave for mithai? Okay, somebody's written happiness. Well, yeah, a bit. Okay, so if you are craving for chocolate, your body is deficient in calcium. Did you know that? So simply, if you crave for a chocolate, crave tells us a lot about what the body needs. It also tells us how our personality works. So giving you an example of your personality. So if you are somebody who finishes your meal in 5 minutes flat, anybody here who finishes the meal in 5 minutes or say in 10 minutes, I can tell you something about your personality. So anybody here? Yes, I see 2-3 people raising their hands. Okay. So if you finish in 5 to 10 minutes, all right, you are somebody who is short tempered, but who also forgives easily. Is that true? Is my prediction true? Okay, yes, I think.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Okay, if you finish your meal, so if you are somebody who likes to drink more than eat, so if your meal involves a lot of chewing, you wouldn't eat the meal. But if you have somebody to a meal to gulp down or drink as a fluid, you would enjoy it better. Anybody here who feels that? I can tell you something about your personality too. Yes? Okay, quite a few people here. So, these people are really hasty in making decisions which they may or may not regret later. Do you feel that's true?
Yes.
Anybody here? Okay. So now you see the connection of even the smallest activities that you do to your personality and later to your mental well-being. So if you want to stop being hasty, what do you need to do? Simply start chewing more food, right? Is that something that you can start doing? I'm not saying it will completely change the way you make decisions, but it is a good start. It really tunes the way your brain works. So if you eat fast, you can try chewing more and taking time to finish your meal. So that will calm you down a bit. It will not make you short tempered. It will improve your patience skills. So that also works on your personality. It prevents a lot of anxiety. It prevents any unwanted, mental stress. Is that something that you can do? Okay, great. So let's move on. Now coming to the important bit, right? There are a lot of types of mental health disorders, and anxiety, personality, and eating disorders are the top of them. So mood disorders usually is depression, is bipolar disorder. Personality is something which people have a problem in self-confidence. They have social anxiety. All of that comes in personality. And I'm going to be focusing on eating disorders today because that is what shapes the base of any mental disturbance. Food is associated with good things, bad things, and every possible emotion in the world. So, this is the first disorder that needs to be tackled. So, talking about eating disorders, there are four major types of eating disorders. First is binge eating. So, binge eating is not in somebody who only has a mental problem. Okay, binge eating can also be in somebody who just does not know how to channelize their emotions. So, it's not a mental disorder yet, but if you don't channelize it wisely, you can fall into any of the categories of mental disorders. So binge eating is something when you kind of just feel like stuffing yourself with food. So there are days when you've already eaten a lot, you still can eat some more food. You still can, finish a tub of ice cream after a good serving of dinner. So that's binge eating disorder. Then comes bulimia nervosa. So bulimia is something where you eat a lot because you want to satisfy your cravings, you want to fill your stomach, and you just like that feeling of fullness. You like that feeling of comfort. But because of the guilt of eating such high calorie food, you tend to puke it out. Okay, so that's bulimia. And anorexia is when you really don't eat food, you are really low on the calorie intake, thinking you are overweight, but really you are not. So please write in the comments. You can message me privately if any of you, feel that you are suffering from any of these disorders, and I will address it. There is other specified feeding and eating disorders. So these are, when people just feel like eating at random hours. So I know a client who used to eat at 3 a.m. only. So he didn't feel hungry for lunch, not for breakfast, not in the evening, but 3 a.m. he was really hungry. So that falls under other specified feeding and eating disorders. Okay. So how to deal with these disorders? So there are a few people who replied, especially for binge eating. So let me give you a very simple to do to tackle binge eating. All right. So what do you do to tackle an eating disorder? The first is you stop a food association. All right. I hope I'm audible. Is this better?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay. So the first sign to stop an eating disorder is to stop associating food with emotion. Let me give you an example here. Like eating popcorn while watching a movie. Do you really need to eat popcorn? Well, if the movie is good enough, you'd enjoy it anyway. So these days, eating popcorn with a movie has become an association. Just the way I told you, cutting a cake when there's some happy occasion. It's just an association. Similar associations are built when you're enjoying with friends. So enjoying with friends means either going to drink or going on a coffee date. Our happiness or sadness is totally built around food. So instead of this, if I were to say, while watching a movie, really you don't need to eat that association. If you would really want to spend some time with your friends, spend quality time, get together, play a board game, play Twister, have a pillow fight, have a sleepover, that's a very good way to enjoy with friends also. If you want to go on a romantic date, you can go for a drive, you can walk by the seaside. There are hundreds of ways to really express, to really enjoy yourselves, to really spend quality, happy time with your loved ones. You don't always have to associate it with food. So the first step is stopping food associations. So if you feel that, okay, you're hanging out with friends only at cafes or restaurants, do do 50% of that tomorrow onwards. So, probably 2 days a week you go to a cafe, and 2 days a week you go to the beach, or you sit in the classroom, or you go to a park. I mean, of course, not in the current scenario, but yes, you get the point, right? Do Zoom meetings, just take the food away from building memories. All right. Then comes to something that's called the art of eating. This is a very beautiful art, and it is very easy to practice it. Just pay close attention to what I'm going to show you next. This is actually an ancient science. In India, in China, in Tibet, in, I would say Japan, almost all of Central and East Asia. So what you need to do is learn this art. If you eat your food correctly, I'm not here talking about what food to eat, remember. So I'm not saying don't eat fried food, don't eat sugar, don't eat, bread, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what you eat has to be eaten in a particular way. All right. So if you do that, you enjoy your favorite foods, you nourish your body, and you never go overboard. So, should I go ahead? Okay. First step is Mitahar. Create a meal experience. Mitahar is an ancient Ayurvedic concept. It's an ancient Indian concept practiced since thousands of years. It is also relevant in today's times. How do you practice Mitahar? So Mitahar basically says that you use your five senses, okay? Use your sensory organs to eat your meal. So basically you're seeing your food, you're feeling it with your fingers, you're smelling the aroma, you're tasting it, you hear it sizzle. Use your sensory organs to eat a meal. So this is simply mindful eating. That means if you're eating on the phone or if you're watching TV while you're eating a meal, or even if you're fighting with your mom while eating the meal, you're really not experiencing the food. And if you start experiencing your meal, your body tells you what you've eaten is right or wrong. So it can be eating rice in the night, it can be eating a banana, it can also be eating a piece of chocolate. Your body will give you signals whether it's meant for it or not meant for it. When you eat mindfully, you also practice something that's called gratitude while eating a meal. So while I was in school, I remember that we always used to pray before eating our food. And that was one way of gratifying the meal that we eat. So think of it that way. What you eat, food is one of the ways to nourish the body. Until we are evolved enough to get the nourishment from oxygen or sunlight or rest or even from our thoughts, we have to rely on food. So don't you think we need to gratify the food we eat? And when we do that gratitude, when we gratify the food that we eat, your food, so the minutest of nutrients in the food converts to what is called as oja. Oja is basically divine energy. And when that energy is derived from food, it not only heals diseases, it prevents deficiencies, it helps you be fitter, stronger, give you a nice skin glow, luscious hair, and prevent any possible health disorder ever. So it's not that you just need to eat salad diets or fruit diets or high protein or keto or low carb. You just need to eat mindfully. That's the base of every possible nutrition or diet therapy ever. So yes, eating food as worshipping, that's one way to look at it. The second theory, okay, this is a complementary theory. This is called Hara Hachi Bu. This is practiced widely in Japan, and it's taught to school children in Japan. Okay, so Hara Hachi Bu literally means eat till you're 80% full. So basically, stop 2 bites before you're almost full. And when you do that, you have that space for the stomach and for the signals to reach the brain, for the brain to register that it's full and I don't need to eat any further, and for the stomach to digest everything properly. So when you eat mindfully, okay, you're practicing mitahar when you eat mindfully, and when you stop till you are 80% full, believe me, you will have no cravings ever, because what you've eaten, you are content with what you've eaten, you really enjoy the flavors of food. And if you practice this, you would even start relishing things like bhindi and karela as well. I am not joking. So during this practice, okay, if you practice the art of eating, so picture this: you have a whole chocolate cake in front of you, and you really love chocolate cake. I mean, who doesn't? But but yes, you really love chocolate cakes. So you've eaten one bite, you've eaten it mindfully, you've not overeaten beyond your stomach's capacity. You will not reach out for the second bite or the second slice, and you would be more than happy. So association with food changes. So I am not depriving myself that, oh, I can't eat this, I can't eat that, I so crave for this, but I can't eat this, versus I really don't feel like eating it. So isn't that a more positive association that we form with food? Yes. Do you think that this is doable? Yeah, thumbs up if you think yes. Okay, perfect. Right. So now let's go to the last bit of the session. What foods should you actually be eating to nourish your brain and your spinal cord and your nervous system? So basically, mental health is a lot to do with the brain and the nervous system, because that is what controls the mental health disorders. And this is also what medications do. So they kind of suppress the nerves, they suppress the brain activity so that you deal with depression or anxiety better. So these foods are foods that nourish the brain, nourish the nerves, and help you deal with mental health disorders and eating disorders both. So first is a combination of calcium, magnesium, zinc, and silicon. I'm not talking about supplements or tablets here, but I'm talking about foods that are naturally rich in this combination. Okay, so the first remedy I would like to tell you here is again very simple, very doable. You need to soak 1 teaspoon of sesame seeds. So sesame is white till. Okay, you need to soak 1 teaspoon in water overnight, and you need to eat the seeds in the morning when you wake up. So this is an excellent combination of the calcium, magnesium, zinc, silicon family. The second food is betel nut leaves. So, the leaves that you get at a pan wala, but this is minus all the masala that goes in the pan. So please, don't have your Calcutta sada and the masala pans. Please have the betel nut leaves only. This is also an excellent, excellent combination to nourish the brain and the nerves. Okay. When do you need to have the pan? You can eat it before meals, you can eat it after meals, but have it either before or after a main meal, not with a snack. Then comes sugar. So I know a lot of you might be surprised reading sugar here, because people think dietitian hai pehle to sugar hi mana karegi. But the your brain recognizes glucose as its source of nourishment. So it only needs glucose to nourish. That does not mean you go and start having sugar every day. You need to have natural form of this sugar. So one food, and this, if you have sugar, you have project submission or whenever it's nights, and you have to need to do is you need to start your day with a small banana. You need to have it with a pinch of elaichi powder, that's cardamom powder, and a teaspoon of honey. So banana, honey, and elaichi powder. Honestly, that's a dessert to me already. But this is excellent to calm the nerves, calm the brain, really works for a burnout. Okay. Then coming to relaxants. So brain is something which works 24/7, and it also needs to relax, because if it does not relax, it will not rejuvenate, and if it does not rejuvenate, it will not perform as efficiently the next day. So there has to be something that relaxes the brain, especially before you go to sleep. So if you have problems falling asleep, if you wake up multiple times in the night, or if you are waking up drowsy in the morning, then this is what you need to be eating. So one, if you're having problems falling asleep, then please check the time that you sleep. If you expect to fall asleep at 2 a.m., well, it's not practical in the first place. But if you are trying to sleep at 11 p.m. and you still can't, then this remedy will help you. So you can have a cup of milk with a half a teaspoon of sugar and a pinch of cinnamon powder at bedtime. So this is one option. Milk with cinnamon and a little bit of sugar, because the sugar, cinnamon and milk combination really gives you the serotonin that your brain needs to relax. Then the second remedy is a chamomile or a jasmine or a rose tea. So basically a floral tea. So it needn't be a green tea. It can just be dried flowers and you just put hot water and make an infusion. So have that about 30 minutes before you go to sleep. This also really relaxes the body. And if you don't fancy the tea, if you don't fancy the milk, the third option is honey soaked almonds. So what you need to do is take a jar of almonds, cover it with honey, leave it in a cool, dry place for 2 days and eat those almonds. So, you can make that jar full, refrigerate it every day, just eat about 3 to 5 pieces depending on the size of the almonds. So that also relaxes your brain and the nerves, and it helps you sleep better. And the last is alkalizing. So, think of the body like a machine, think of the brain like a machine. It functions every day 24/7. It generates a lot of byproducts, it generates oxidation. And when it is alkalized, that is when it can recover quicker. So the key to recovering is also alkalizing the body. And one way to alkalize is to do a raw start to the day. Okay, so you start your day with something raw. It can be a fruit, it can be a vegetable juice, it can be some nuts, dried fruit, it can be coconut water. Start with something raw. I would prefer starting with a fruit, banana, elaichi combination for that matter, because it will just pep up your brain, boost memory, and help you relax all in one go, right? Um, Moving on to burnouts. So this segment, especially because college times are tough, we do have our days of examination, project submissions, late nights, and a long week of studying or working odd hours. This is what you need to do to prevent burnouts. The first thing that we do to prep ourselves is to rely on either tea or coffee. But we don't realize that tea and coffee, in fact, increases the burnout. How? So when you have a tea or coffee, your body is, rushed with that caffeine or that stimulation, and that stimulation lasts for 30 minutes, and then there is an immediate drop in that energy surge, which makes you want to have something sugary or something fatty. And eating a sugar or something fatty makes you lethargic and also makes your brain sluggish, and you would want to fall asleep quicker. So please don't rely on tea or coffee, especially when you have late nights or when you have long hours of study or project work. Second, quality over quantity. So if you don't take breaks, especially constructive breaks, don't take a break to, browse social media or watch a movie, because you're just distracting yourself again. Take a break to rest, to rejuvenate, to oxygenate the body. So some 15 minutes of a good walk, or doing some skipping, or just doing some stretching exercises, having a natural physical conversation with somebody in the house is a good break. And what you can achieve with that break is, because your brain has rejuvenated, it's back with a vigor, you can finish 2 hours worth of work in, say, 1.5 hours. So you're being smart here. You're not just logging every day for long hours. You're kind of working smartly and dropping the number of hours, but improving the quality of your study or your output. So prevent burnouts. This is one of the best ways to deal with anxiety, to deal with binge eating, and to deal with depression. Lastly, I would like to conclude by saying that you just have this one body. You cannot change it like the way you years to build all the nutrient stores. So till the age of 25, your body really builds all the calcium, iron, vitamin stores, and best use of its time. So this is one advice that I give all. Have loved to give it to my younger self. Please make the best use of these years that you have. So I hope I have covered everything. Let's just begin the question answer session. Okay, so please feel free, post in your questions. I have a few questions already, which I think I can start answering. So
Sure, sure.
there is somebody who asked me about pimples, any food that causes pimples. So you need to alkalize. If you alkalize the body, the breakouts don't happen as often. Okay, there is somebody who said craving for food when you're watching something. That is also because you're associating watching a movie with eating. So again, you're mindlessly eating while watching something, which you really don't need to do. So what you can do is just eat a meal before watching a movie or watching a TV series, so that you don't have the urge of eating while watching uh, something, right? Okay. What foods are bad for mental health? So, Khushi, foods that are bad for mental health. One is overdose of caffeine or stimulants. That includes tea, coffee. It includes all your caffeinated drinks. It includes soda, colas, all of that. Second is sugar. Sugar, why? Because natural sugar nourishes the brain, but artificial sugar really damages the nerves. So your nerve lining is really brittle, it's really thin, and sugar damages that lining. So avoid processed sugar as much as you can. That also affects your mental health. Okay, somebody is asking me foods for high protein. Okay, so for vegetarians, your lentils are high protein. When you eat your pulses and lentils, always eat it with a grain, that is either roti, rice, millets, etc. So that's a source of complete protein. The second protein source is your animal proteins. And the third protein that is very easily available is your nuts and seeds. So include at least one serving of nuts and seeds every day. Okay. Um, all right. So I'm getting a lot of skin questions. Let me address the mental health questions first. So how do you eat, how do you not eat your feelings? Okay, so here, remember the art of eating. When you eat mindfully, when you eat till you're 80% full, you will not associate food with feelings. feelings, you will associate food with hunger and nourishing the body. And that's a very positive way to stop binge eating or to stress eat. Okay. Okay, there is somebody who's asking me about sleep. How do you get good sleep? Okay, this is a very interesting theory. All right. So, any time that you sleep, that's before 12 a.m. Okay. So, if you're sleeping at 11 p.m., 10 p.m., anytime before 12 a.m., each hour of sleep is equivalent before 12, 1 hour of 12 a.m. up to 5 a.m. Okay, 1 hour of sleep is equal to 1 hour of rest. And after 5 a.m., each hour of sleep that you get is half an hour of rest. So if you're being smart here, you need 8 hours of rest, okay, not sleep. So you sleep by 10, you wake up by 5, you get your 8 hours of sleep, or at least 7 hours of sleep. So that way you are really, making the most of your time and you're getting good quality sleep. Now, if you're having trouble falling asleep, these are the three things that you must do to prevent this phenomena. The first thing is switch off gadgets half an hour before you go to sleep. So no screen time half an hour before you go to sleep. Simply because the screen, it can be a mobile phone, it can be your laptop, it can be the television. Any screen time really activates the brain and the nerves, and it cannot rest even while you've fallen asleep. So you really need to switch off that screen time before you go to sleep. Secondly, have any of the relaxing foods that I mentioned that can also induce good sleep. And third is practice about 5 to 10 counts of deep breathing. So just deep inhale, exhalation before you go to sleep. That also relaxes the brain and it helps you fall into deep sleep faster. Okay. Um, okay, unable to fall asleep early. So yes, this is what I told you. All right. So how to lessen sleep? Honestly, if you are getting enough rest, you will never oversleep. But if you're not resting, then you will want to sleep for more hours. So one, maximize your rest. If you don't rest, get uh, you don't get enough sleep hours. All right. So maximize rest. Don't just sleep. Okay, jaggery. If you're avoiding sugar, you must eat jaggery. Sugar, jaggery, palm jaggery, date honey, same family. So it's not that you avoid sugar and you switch on to jaggery. Remember, 1 teaspoon a day is digestible. Anything beyond that really harms your brain and your nerves, and you really cannot process it. All right. Um, Okay, eating before going to sleep, no, not a good idea. So if you're eating a relaxant that I mentioned, it has to be 30 minutes before you go to sleep, not immediately before you go to sleep. Okay. And if you're eating a meal, so if it's dinner or a late dinner, then it has to be at least 2 hours before you go to sleep. You don't want your stomach processes to be in full form while you are trying to sleep, because you might sleep, you might close your eyes, you might be drowsy, but your body cannot rest while the stomach is still active. So remember these points. All right. How many times should we eat in a day? Okay, so practice mitahar, practice haraha chibu. You will know when to eat, what to eat. All right. But on an average, you really don't need to follow the 2 hourly pattern. It depends on your body type. So if you're the type who eats really fast, you might feel hungry every 2 hourly. If you're the type who takes a long time to eat, who really likes eating a large quantity of food, they might not be hungry even after 4 hours. So go by the hunger cues. Remember not to be too hungry. Don't wait till you're too hungry or you're starving to eat the next meal. Eat your meal just before you think you might get hungry. So that is the correct gap to decide the number of meals. All right. Um, so I guess we have a lot more questions coming in, which are really random. So we can save that for another date. Drinking green coffee, well, green coffee is high on antioxidants, yes, but it still has that tiny amount of caffeine. Don't start your day with caffeine. All right. Remember, when you start your day with caffeine, your body is already high on the acid load. Your body is already acidic in the morning. And when you add more caffeine, it can be green coffee, it can be black tea, it can be black coffee or regular chai, it just adds fuel to the fire. So it's not only going to deplete your calcium stores, but it is also going to make you drowsy mid-morning and in the afternoon. So don't start the day with tea and coffee. Start with something raw, preferably. Have your breakfast and then have your tea and coffee. Avoid it in the first half of the day if you can, right? So I will hand it over back to the HR Speaks committee and yes, just conclude the session for here today. Thank you once again for being so patient and for being such an interactive audience. It was a pleasure talking to all of you today. I hope you enjoyed the session. Yes, please take over.
Shweta ma'am?
Yeah, it was wonderful session, Dhvani. Really enjoyed it and very informative session. So I have written down few tips. I'm sure we're surely going to follow it. So amazing session. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Over to Karina for vote of thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Dear Ms. Dhwani, thank you so much for being a part of this workshop and sharing your valuable inputs about how a connection between food and mental well-being is so deeply rooted. Thank you for sharing numerous tips to lead us on a healthier lifestyle. I'm sure from our audience's reaction that all the information shared today will be a force of creating awareness about mental health through food amongst all of us. What we learned today is genuinely the call of the hour. On the behalf of HR College, HSNC Board, and HR Speaks, I wish to thank our guest for sharing your valuable knowledge, our faculties, our teacher in charge, and our dear students for the valuable time and participation. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you so much.
much, Shweta. It was a great session, and I'm sure many of us have really benefited. And even I have written down some tips for myself. We had a lot of questions pouring in, as you said. Even I had received on personal mistakenly 4 or 5, but then I understand there's a lot of time that requires it. So thank you so much for being there.
Thank you. Please do leave your feedback on any of my social media handles. I will try answering your questions there. And I would love to hear as what tips benefited you and if you need any more help from me.
Surely, I'll be sharing her social media handles on the group. So please do not leave the group until I send them. Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, faculty members. Thank you, dear students, for joining in. Thanks a lot.
We can end the meeting.
Yeah. Can we end the meeting formally, please?